Hey, good afternoon. Bob Desmond here. Finally getting back into the workshop and carving some braces for this Hauser copy top. Uh, these braces are rather tall at the moment. The middle brace is 5 millimeters wide, and the rest of the braces are 4 millimeters wide. Right now, their height is, let's say, 9 millimeters. Yeah, around 8 to 9 millimeters right now. A lot of people prefer to use a plane when bringing these down to shape. I prefer to use a chisel, and I typically start off with a Robert Sorbet. This is a 3/4 inch, quite sharp chisel. It'll cut here. And I want a parabolic shape here. My goal for this middle brace is going to be 7 millimeters in the middle, tapering down to almost nothing at each end. So with that said, I have started a little bit here, and I just want to sort of show my process. I'm in no hurry. I don't do this fast. I could, but I like to get into the groove here. Okay. You can see it starting to curve. Now, when I do when I go and plane this other end, I'll use a a nice sharp Marples chisel. And once again, I like to use a 3/4 inch. This is 20 millimeters. It's just easier for me to come in this direction. And I like to start with a larger chisel because they just they do a better job. This brace has been cut out so the brace does not touch the bridge pad. Bridge pad is about 3/4 of an inch thick by 1 1/4 this way and about 10 inches long. And the reason I cut out the fan brace is because I'm literally copying Hermann Hauser. It's not because I have some brilliant idea. I've made 3 Hauser copies, and I've done this to all of them, and they've all come out really well. I'm measuring this right now. I'm at about 8.5 millimeters. And my goal is, like I said, 7, a little bit above 7. When I glued these braces in, I glued them all in the direction of the easiest way to plane the grain. In other words, I like to work from the bottom this way, so I glue them in so that it would be easy to plane them that way. Or chisel them. I planed the wood before I glued it in place, so I knew which way the wood would plane easier. These braces are Engelmann spruce, I believe. I've had the wood for so long I can't remember. I don't think it's the grain is a little too tight for it to be German. It's been a long time. I bought this bracewood 20 years ago. It's quite fine-grained. I put the finest grains in the middle. And I'm going to look through the camera here. You can start to see the parabolic shape. And we're at about just almost 8 millimeters. So I'll keep going a little bit lower. And it actually planes in both directions fairly well. That isn't always the case. And I'm leaving the highest point just ahead of the bridge pad. When I say ahead, I mean toward the top. The highest point will be right about here. And go back to the French pattern maker's chisel. I really like to feel the braces being cut. It gives me feedback as to how the chisel's working. And as I get down a little bit lower, I'll use a slightly narrower chisel. Now, I don't always use this Hauser pattern. I'm just happen to be in this mindset right now. And I'm going to switch to a 3/8 chisel here, just because I'm getting close to the, this end here. Matter of fact, what have I got? Yeah, I'll stay with this one. Right now, it's a little difficult for me to see what I'm doing. And you might say, well, why? I've been having a problem with my right eye. I was out hiking in Utah last July. And after Utah, we went to Colorado to go on the Durango-Silverton train. And on our way home, after we did that, we drove the RV back to Orlando. Right before I headed home, I had an event in my right eye. I had something that was called anterior basement membrane dystrophy. And essentially, my cornea got a little bit of a tear, and it was excruciating. And I drove home over 2,000 miles in agony. And when I got home, I saw a few specialists. And I'm dealing with a doctor right now who is, she's very good. I'm hoping she can help me. I'm actually seeing her again tomorrow. And it's January of 25 right now. Donald Trump was inaugurated yesterday for another 4 years, which is scary for those who can't stand him, of which I am one. But in any case, I've been dealing with this eye for a while, and what I'm seeing out of my right eye is a very, very slight, it's like looking through a very slight bit of Vaseline. I can see sharply, I just can't see well out of that eye, the right eye. So essentially, I'm doing all of this right now with my left eye. And it's, I'm taking it a little slower than normal, because I don't want to go past my point. Yeah, we're getting there. It's looking pretty good. Let me do another measurement. So the middle one, it will end up being, right now it's, the middle of this is just below 8. And probably do it on this side, be a little easier. Yeah, it's just about 8 right now. I'm going to take it a little bit further, and then I'm going to sand it. And this brace will be, the basic parabolic shape of it will be done. That's about as far as I want to go there. A little bit of a hump in the middle. I like to use not just my eyes, but my hands to feel what's going on. My fingertips tell me quite a bit. These chisels are very sharp. I usually take them over and strop them, but I don't have a lot of time today, and I'm trying to just fit it in. So the first thing I do, as you can see now, I'm going to look through the camera here. Yeah, you can see how this is parabolic shaped now. Okay. And it's a good angle to see it from. I'm going to smooth it out now. I don't want to go too low here because I have a cutout for the brace. So the next step that I'll do is take a plexiglass sanding block with either 120 or, with either 150 or 120 grit sandpaper. I'm doing that out of camera's view. Okay, so here's my little plexiglass sanding block. And here's the purple 3M purple paper, which 120 grit. And I'm basically going to take this plexi block and just smooth out my own imperfections here. And keep in mind the brace is slightly higher than my target. I'll do this to every brace, and as I go closer to the outside edges, this brace will be a little over 7. This will be 6.5, 6, and 5.5. So 7, 6.5, 6, 5.5. This is the treble side. Pretty much the same with the bases. I use about the same formula. It'll be 6.5, 6, 5. Those are my targets. Feathering off around the edges, just like graduating the edges. Now I'm coming back from the other direction. Another thing I do is when I clamp this workboard is scooped out, by the way, to accept the doming of the top. When I glue each one of these braces on as a rectangle, I lay the rectangle in place, I get the length right, and then I scribe the shape of the dome. This top gets pushed down into the form. There's always a gap underneath each brace, and it always forces me to plane each end of the brace on the bottom and blend it so that it's a parabolic shape on the bottom. I usually plane it with my little Lie Nielsen block plane. We all have one of these. and I rub paraffin wax. I have a block of paraffin wax. I rub it on the bottom. Anyway, yeah, so now I'm just gonna smooth this out a bit. Okay, and normally I would hit that with a vacuum cleaner, but I'm going to spare you of that noise. I happen to have this wonderful brush, and I'll just use that for the time being. Okay, so let me get back to my camera. There's a couple little pieces caught in there. Let me blow them out. I'll take them out with a little. There we go. Okay, so you can see the shape now, the side view. Okay, I like the highest part to be like right here. It's just slightly higher. And right now it's probably just below 8 millimeters, and I'll leave it at that for the moment. Now, I'll do every brace like that. These are all the final length. Okay, the length has already been determined. And they're all glued, of course. And then after I get them all the way I like them, not only will they be parabolic shaped this way, but because they're getting lower as you go to the edge, and essentially this one gets smaller as well, the whole entire bracing structure is actually being gradated toward the edges of the soundboard all the way around. Okay, and then these are coming down as well, because when I glue in the curved harmonic bar, this one's too long, of course, but when I glue this in and then carve it, there's no need to have these braces, you know, high here, because this bar is massive. It'll support everything. And this bar is laminated. It's 3 pieces of spruce, just over 2 millimeters each. I think they're about 2.3 millimeters each. And it makes a final bar of just over 7 millimeters wide. Matter of fact, okay, I take it back. It's just 7 millimeters. So, yeah, 2.3 times 3 would be 7. Okay, just about. So there it is. That goes in later. Of course, these ends get cut off. They get scalloped. The whole thing gets shaped like, it gets rounded over at the top, almost like an A, and so on. This is coming up later. Anyway, yeah, so once I get each one of these done, then I take a pencil and I will just, with my fingernail as a guide, I'll find the center line just by eye. It's better than any ruler. And I'll draw the center line. As you see there. And then, once again, with my chisel, I will, yeah, hold on a second. I will come in and make these A-framed. They'll be kind of pointed, okay? I'm not going to do it yet because I save it until the end. So that's basically what I do. Now this soundboard, these are Hauser copies, Hauser 2 copies. This is German spruce from Rudolf Fuchs in Germany. He gets his spruce from the Bavarian mountains. Anyway, being a Hauser, this is a thicker top. And this top is about 3.4 millimeters in the center, and it's about 3.0 around the edges at the moment. Okay, with the treble, I keep the treble slightly thicker. Excuse me. You got to remember that once the top is glued on, there is more graduation done on the outside, some sanding, of course. So the entire top will go down maybe 1/10 of a millimeter. I still want to keep it at least at 3.3 millimeters, this central area. And the edges will go down to anywhere between 1.9 to 2.9 to 3, and which is not much of a graduation if the middle is 3.3, 3.4. But this is how these tops work. They work really good like that. And these tops will produce very strong trebles. Warm, very loud first string, and all the notes tend to ring out. It's a very loud first ring, very musical. The bass is ample. It's not like playing an old Spanish guitar where the basses are very deep. Little sip of water there. Yeah, the basses are going to be, they're definitely adequate. And so there'll be that harmonic bar there. There'll be a straight one going across. There'll be a pad underneath the fingerboard that goes across about 6 inches. There'll be 2 pads, one on either side of the sound hole. They're 2 millimeters minimum thick. Sometimes I'll go 2.5. There'll also be a cross brace above the pad, and finally a room for the neck overhang to glue in here. Okay, so just a little show and tell of how I do these braces. Now I don't do it this way on all of my guitars. I use different bracing heights and widths and patterns. I have a grid pattern that I use, that I devised. I use normal fan bracing sometimes. Sometimes I'll put in a treble bar. If my tops are thinner, oftentimes I'll put a treble bar in. And I make guitars with tops that range anywhere from about 1.7 millimeters all the way up to 3.5, depending on the sound that I'm trying to get. So there you have it, and hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. I'm not going to do the whole thing. This is quite long enough. Bob Desmond signing out. Have a nice day.